The Live Financially Savvy podcast was created by Atia, the savvy accountant. She is a CPA, CA, and certified financial educator instructor. She has a passion for building generational wealth and wants to help you and others to do the same. She's created the podcast to help others live financially savvy, lower your debt, and build your net worth using techniques you learned here from others doing amazing things to live financially savvy. Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of the Live Financially Savvy podcast. I'm your host, Atia, aka the Savvy Accountant. And today I'm so excited for this episode. We're going to be tackling all things 401ks, 403bs, basically any retirement accounts that you have that are employer sponsored. So basically, if you have a retirement account from this job, from your previous job, this episode is for you. And so I'm so excited that today I'm going to be speaking with Chris Costello of Blooom. And so I connected with Chris, and this episode is all things retirement accounts because I feel that the information, a lot of people don't understand what's in their 401ks and what the mix is and what rates they're paying. And so there's a lot of fees that can be eating away at your retirement accounts. And I think that this information is just helpful to everybody. And so Chris basically feels the same, and he created Blooom so that everybody can have access to this information. Chris, he's one of the nation's foremost experts on 401k accounts and other employee-sponsored retirement plans. He is an advocate for everybody having financial planning through smart technology. So he spent the last 18 years of his financial planning career in the wealth management industry, and he was basically encountered with clients that never had investable assets less than $1 million. And over time, he came to realize that the financial service industry was a bit of a rigged game. It was only available to that small percentage of wealthy people, and the other people just basically didn't have the information, didn't have the access and the knowledge that the other small percentage had. And so Chris, along with his co-founders, they created Blooom to be a first of its kind technology to automate the analyzing, building, and reallocating of clients' 401ks in the US. And so he has more than 2 decades worth of experience in individualized portfolios, and he is a certified financial planner. And so essentially, Blooom helps the average Joe, the average Jane, whatever you want to call it. It gives them access to the same information that the wealthy have. And so in this episode, you're going to hear us talk about how Blooom works, and listen to the end of the episode for a special announcement that we have with the Savvy Accountant and the listeners of the Live Financially Savvy podcast and Blooom. So I hope you enjoy the episode. And if you guys are enjoying the episodes, if you guys can rate and review in Apple Podcasts, if you guys listen there, and if you guys don't listen in Apple Podcasts, you guys can subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts. I'm on iHeartRadio, I'm on Spotify, we're on Google Play as well. Basically, anywhere you listen to your podcast. I'm also on YouTube, so you can subscribe on YouTube at The Savvy Accountant, and you can just search Live Financially Savvy. And so you should be able to find me there. And so if you're enjoying it, I would love to hear your comments. So let me know what you think of the episode, and listen to the end so that you guys can be made aware of the special announcement that we have. So without further ado, I'm going to start the episode with Chris Costello. So thanks so much for joining the Live Financially Savvy, Chris.
Well, good morning. Thanks for having me.
So I tend to have my guests introduce themselves in their own words so that everybody can hear about them from them. So while I read your bio, very impressive bio, I want you to tell the guests who you are.
Sure. So I'm Chris Costello. I'm the chairman and co-founder of a company called Blooom. Blooom is spelled with 3 O's. And it is one of the robo-advisors that people have heard a lot about over the last few years in terms of new technologies that have now come to the market in the last basically 5 to 8 years or so to help people better manage their accounts at a fraction of the price of what Wall Street had been charging to people. Prior to founding Blooom, I had started another wealth management company and still own that. But I've always been in financial services from the day I got out of school in 1995. Always been working with generally people saving for retirement. And in a previous life, it was more for wealthy people. And now we wanted to build a company that could help anyone, regardless of account balance. And very proud of the company, Blooom, that we've built over the last 5 years. I think we're doing a tremendous amount of good for people that previously didn't have access to this kind of help and service.
All right, awesome. So can you just talk about a little bit more about what robo-advisors do? Like, what is the concept behind that, just for people that don't know?
Yeah, certainly. I think the biggest thing that robo-advisors have done is, and this is really kind of what I love about technology the most, and that is when it brings services to a group, a segment of the population that didn't previously get these types of badly needed services. In the way in which robo-advisors have made financial advice, financial service accessible is number one, they have dropped the price radically. In a lot of cases, it is a fourth to a fraction of what traditional financial advice has cost, basically. The second biggest thing is that they, robo-advisors, Blooom included, has made it available to anyone. If you think about it, in financial services, and I know this because I spent almost 20 years in this side of the business or in that side of the business, I can tell you firsthand that good quality financial advisors, like the kind of financial advisors that people would want to work with, most of them did not work with clients under a certain amount of money. And me personally, later in my career, I was not helping people unless they had at least $1 million of investable assets. Well, clearly, that's an incredibly small sliver of the population out there. And so now there might have been other advisors that had lower minimums, but let's just generally say, for the most part, if you've got under $100,000, under $250,000 saved up, there's almost no financial advisors on planet Earth today that are going to give you the time to adequately help grow your wealth, give you good advice. And so the second big thing that robo-advisors are doing is they're breaking down that barrier. They're saying, forget the account minimums. Anybody with any account balance can be a client of ours. So that's the second thing. The third thing that I think that robo-advisors are doing that's maybe different than the traditional financial advisor model, and I know this is the case at Blooom, is that they're making this stuff a lot more simpler, in my opinion. Part of Wall Street's shtick, if you will, was, I think, that the game was to, in some ways, make investors feel like investing and finance was this hard kind of behind the Wizard of Oz curtain type thing that you needed to go hire a high-priced financial advisor to be able to navigate these complex waters. And there are some parts that are difficult, but I think the third thing that robo-advisors are doing is they're making this a lot more simpler. At Blooom, for example, we get feedback all the time that people love, we have a bit of irreverence. We don't take it too seriously. We speak in human terms, not in Wall Street terms. And I think that's kind of the softer benefit of this, but it's incredibly important. I think all the time about how Apple has made things what I call Apple simple. I'm a big fan of Apple's products. And I think one of the reasons why Apple has done so well is they have figured out simple.
Yep.
They haven't tried to cram 18 million different features and overwhelm people with all these technicals. They've made things like one button. How can we do this? Well, we really need to do 3 buttons. No, how can we do it in one button?
Yep.
And they have blazed the trail as far as making things simple and intuitive. And we're working hard at our company at Blooom to do that as well with respect to people's finances.
I think that's awesome. And especially, I mean, all three are very important. Reducing cost. Who doesn't want to do that? That's obviously the higher the cost, it's going to eat away at your retirement. But making it available to everybody definitely changes the game, because so many people, I think, aren't saving for retirement, aren't thinking about it, because they're like, well, I don't have that much to save. I don't have that much to handle. So what's the point? And the same concept kind of deals with life insurance. So like, well, I don't have anything to give to anybody, so why should I create wills?
Yeah. We at Blooom, we do talk a lot about how we can save people money. And it's not just the cost that Blooom charges that's low. It's the fact part of the Blooom service is we have technology that it can actually go into anyone's 401k. Anybody in the United States that has a 401k, if you go through Bloom's 3-minute free analysis process, we can let people know exactly what they're paying in hidden fees and give people a good idea of what we might be able to lower their fees to inside of their 401k plan. So we talk a lot about that, but it's not, I think the biggest thing that Blooom is doing is providing access. So it's not like, you've got all these choices and then Blooom becomes the cheaper option. Most of our clients, and not all, but most of our clients, the stage of life they're in, whether it be their age or how much wealth they have, it's not like, well, I could go to a financial advisor, they charge a lot more. It's like, no, the financial advisor won't even give them the time of day.
Exactly.
So it's like, yes, we're lower at cost, but the big thing that we talk about all the time is we're actually just giving access.
Yeah.
We're giving access to a huge swath of the population to come in, get free financial, analysis on their 401k. And then you finally get in the door, you get in the club, if you will, and there's a professional advisor that's willing to manage your account for you.
And I think that's like so amazing, because part of me creating this platform is to get the information and the access out there, because I feel like so many people don't even have the basic knowledge on how to do this. And so they just aren't aware of it. And so therefore they're not going to be able to do it.
That's right. Yep.
And so when you say that you guys, any 401k in the US, so how does that process work? So I have 401k from my previous job, and then I have one with my current job. So how would that service work? How would I come to you and I just give you my account information and you can tell me where their hidden fees are?
Yeah, it's exactly. And when I said 3 minutes, I wasn't lying. It takes literally 3 minutes to start to finish to get a free analysis on your 401k. It works very simply. You just go to the Blooom website. Don't forget to use 3 O's. If you type in Blooom with 2 O's, you're going to be at some online cosmetics company. And I don't think they do 401k analysis on their site. So Blooom with 3 O's, and you just basically click on one of the buttons that says get started. And the first thing you'll do is you'll link in your case, you could do it with both of them. You could link your old 401k, and by linking basically means you just need to select where the 401k is held. Is it Fidelity? Is it Charles Schwab? Is it Vanguard? Is it, John Hancock? Whatever. Select who's the record keeper or the platform or the custodian where each of your 401ks are held. So let's start with your current one. So you pick your record keeper, your institution where your 401k is held, and then you'll enter your login credentials. So your password, your user ID and password that you would normally use to access your 401k.
Okay.
You put that in, we secure that, we encrypt that. We use a very, very large data aggregator, a company called Yodlee, that is used by virtually every financial institution to help aggregate financial data. Yodlee then logs into your account and pulls out the information on how you're currently invested. So initially, we're just looking at your money. Where is it invested? That information then comes back to Blooom. We run it through our algorithm and analyze it, and then we display for you. And because we're called Blooom, we use the image of a flower to convey the health of your account. So you don't need you don't need a PhD in finance to understand some, how many times, you and I are both, career financial people. How many times have you seen a financial graph And it takes you, I mean, you literally have to stare at it for a couple minutes before you even understand, okay, what are they trying to communicate to me? What's the legend here say? What is
Exactly.
this
You're like looking at
access?
look at the axis. You're like, wait, what is
Yes.
this one trying to say?
Exactly. And same for me. So none of that at Blooom. We use an image of a flower to connotate or convey the health of your account. So you can see in an image really quickly, okay, is my flower dead and dying with a fly buzzing around it, or is it healthy, or is it real aggressive, kind of like a Venus flytrap looking? And then we also will show you what you're paying in hidden fees. And then here's the cool part, and this is still the free process. We will show you, because one of the things you tell us right before you select where your 401k is held is you will tell us your date of birth and when
your age. Yeah.
And then here's the hardest question that we ask you. We ask you, when would you like to smash your alarm clock? Which is, aka retire. That's the hardest question that we get asked. I think a lot of people sometimes are worried because they've had financial experiences in the past where they've either sat down with somebody or they've done some questionnaire online and it's asked them a bunch of just ridiculously insane questions, are you conservative, moderate, aggressive, and all these weird financial hypotheticals. No, ours is like, tell us your date of birth, tell us when you'd like to smash your alarm clock, and that gives us so much information right there. So then based on that, in the free analysis, we'll show you the hidden fees you're paying. We'll show you then what we think your allocation should look like given your age and time frame to retirement, exactly how much in stocks and bonds, exactly how much in large company versus international and some of the other things. And then we'll show you what we think we could save you in hidden fees inside of your plan. Because keep in mind, while you're still working, if you're still at that employer, you cannot move your money at all. Okay, so Blooom is not about moving your money anywhere else. That your money in your 401k has to stay where it's at. Blooom has to make the best of whatever funds you have to pick from inside your 401k. And your 401k is going to be totally different than your next door neighbors, unless they happen to work for your exact same company. Same across the United States. So Blooom goes in and we have to make the best and optimize and use the lowest fees in whatever 401k, whether you work for an accounting company, whether you work for a diner, whether you work for Apple or wherever. Each of these 401ks are different. Virtually none of them are treated equal. There's wild variations in terms of the fund choices, in terms of the fee structure. Here's something that'll blow your mind, should blow the mind of your listeners too. You could be in a 401k today, and your next door neighbor also has a 401k through their employer. You could be paying 10 times what they are paying inside of their 401k in these hidden fees.
That's mind-blowing.
It is. I mean, literally, I'll give you an example. And I hate to use percentages because I think sometimes percentages are lost on people. But you could have a 401k where inside of your 401k, you've got really good low-cost fund choices, and you could be paying 1/10 of 1%. So 0.10, 1/10 of 1%. Your next door neighbor, their 401k from their big company, they could be paying 1.5%.
Oh my goodness.
15 times what you're paying. And again, these percentages sound low.
They sound low, but either way,
over a working career, it could be, I'm not exaggerating. It could be hundreds of thousands of your money, not like the company's money, of your money. That is, and this is something that a big part of the problem that Blooom is solving is this freaking lack of transparency and just insanely hard task to figure out what in the heck am I really paying on my retirement nest egg in my 401k. And so it shouldn't require a thesis level project to be able to ascertain what it is that you're paying in here. And that's I think a big value add that Blooom gives, is that we can tell you what those fees are and we can show you how we might be able to lower those. And so does that help explain kind of what?
Yeah. And I love the fact that it's personalized because, like you said, every retirement plan is different. And so you're meeting them where they are and you're solving their personal issue. Like you're looking at their personal fees because I tell my clients all the time, you need to know your fees. But when you sit with an advisor, some jobs let you sit with who's going to manage the plan. And that's great. But they're not all the time giving you exactly the information. They're saying our fees are low. Like they could be very high level and they're not getting below the surface. So you don't actually know what your fees are.
Well, and that's a good point. And well, first of all, the advisor that's provided to you is working for the company that's providing your 401k. Let's get that straight. Okay, so not likely to call out and be totally transparent about what all those fees are, because that's how they're making their living. You know, that 401k plan, that the fees in that plan, that's exactly what's paying that person's salary. And so it is, you know, the other thing that Blooom realized years ago, it was almost like an epiphany. And if you think about kind of all the various players in the financial services ecosystem, everything from the people that manage the money, the mutual fund companies, to the platforms that provide the 401k, to like you said, that financial advisor that might come out and buy pizza for the office and give some general advice, to the head of HR at a company that might be the one kind of sponsoring that 401k plan, or maybe it's the business owner. And then the other component is the individual, the participant, you know, the people that are listening to this podcast, Bloom's clients. And if you think about it, there is only one single party in that entire ecosystem that is totally unconflicted. And that is the individual, the participant, your listener, Bloom's clients. Everybody else has competing agendas.
Yep.
The mutual fund companies are charging fees, would like to be charging higher fees. The record keeping platforms are charging fees, and some of those fees are offset occasionally depending on how much they're charging inside of those funds. The financial advisor, like we talked about, is likely working for the company that provides the 401k. And where does their income come from? Even your head of HR, even the company that's providing this 401k to you, and thankfully they are, because unfortunately there's a bunch of Americans that go to work every day at a company that doesn't even provide a damn 401k. That's a topic for a whole nother discussion. But even the head of HR or the business owner that's providing the 401k, they 401ks cost money to provide to their employees, and an employer can actually get a 401k for free. Meaning they don't have to pay anything to provide a 401k to their employees. But guess where the cost then comes from? Guess where the expense of that 401k then gets shoved onto? The backs of the employees, exactly. And how does that done? Through charging higher fund fees, like you and I talked about a few minutes ago. That's where those high fund fees come from. And so even the employer's got an incentive. The employer's trying to run a business. And they're trying to save costs, just like they're trying to save expenses on health insurance. If they can get a 401k that is free to the company and just pass those costs on to the employers. It's not like they're bad people. These aren't bad employers. They're just probably running a smart business. Exactly. And so, but that then the last component, the last party in this whole ecosystem, again, your listeners, our clients, they're unconflicted. Okay. People listening to this show are unconflicted about what's best for them. Okay, sometimes we do dumb things. That's okay. But generally, we want the best for ourselves.
Yep.
We want the best investments, the best advice at the lowest price. No one would argue with that.
Nope.
No one would. And so Blooom realized that if we just focus only on the individual, no alliances with the mutual fund companies or the 401k providers or the financial advisors. And even for a time period, we were actually selling to companies. Like we'd go into big companies and see if the big company wanted to offer Blooom. But then we get those competing agendas again, and that the people making those decisions don't have the exact same intentions as our clients do. So a couple years ago, we said, no, all we're going to do is focus on our client. How can we make this company, this service, these products the best for our clients and not have to worry about what someone else wants and these conflicting agendas? And it's like, this sounds simple, what I'm explaining, almost like a duh type, of course this, but it was like once that epiphany, that realization came, it was like the forest parted, it's like we could see so clearly, how can we build Blooom in the best way possible for our clients without kind of thinking about anything other than that? How can we do the best for them? And I think really sometimes when I speak to entrepreneurs, that's the advice I try and give people. If you put your client, or because we call our folks clients, or if you have a different kind of business, if you put your customer or your user, if you put them at the center and make all decisions around how can we do this the best for them, what's in our clients' best interest, it makes things so much simpler, I think, when trying to build a business.
Yeah, and that's probably the integrity side of business, because a lot of people don't do that, right? A lot of people focus on the bottom line and just how to get the quickest way to get to that. So this is definitely showing that you're doing this for your clients. And so I think this is a great service, and I can't wait to put all this information in the show notes so people can just go take that free analysis and see if they're paying exorbitant fees, see how they can change their portfolio around to better suit them. And so I think that's awesome. And so I wanted to talk more about like 401ks. So what do you think like the biggest, I don't want to say issue, but the biggest thing people are missing when they're contributing to their 401k, if they're contributing to their 401k?
Well, that's a perfect question, I think, and I can actually use that to kind of, if it's okay, really kind of go back, because this is that question precisely is really a big part of the why behind Blooom. Yep. Why we started Blooom 5 years ago. And so there's actually two big reasons why we started Blooom. Number one was I was owning and running a wealth management firm that we started in 2004. And as I mentioned earlier, the only clients that could get in our front door to meet with me specifically, excuse me, were folks that had at least $1 million of investable assets. And what bothered me was my own mom and dad, people that loved me and raised me, did not even come close to qualifying to be a client of the firm that I own and ran. Now, I want to get this very straight.
Deep. Yeah.
They were my clients. I'm not a jerk, but on paper, or technically, if you will,
conceptually, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Had I not been in the business, had I not become a financial advisor, I know my own mom and dad would have found no one to help them because of the level of assets that they had. And so that kind of always in the back of my mind was kind of nagged at me. I'm like, I felt that the financial services business model was flawed in that the people that arguably needed the help the least, the people that already had found financial independence, those were the people where financial advisors were lined up around the block to help. And meanwhile, the other 99% of Americans that hadn't arrived on financial independence's doorstep yet could barely get any help other than Googling for answers and, kind of a hodgepodge of doing it yourself. So that was a big part of it. But to your question, the second reason why behind Blooom was I can't tell you over the 18 years before we started Blooom that I was in this business, how many times the following would happen to me. I would just be out living my life. I could be standing in my cul-de-sac with my neighbors. I could be standing at the sidelines of one of my kids' soccer games. I could be just living my life doing whatever. And I'd be in a conversation either with a friend or getting to know somebody. And the topic of, what do you do would come up. And I would say that I was a financial advisor. And then this is the following conversation that probably happened almost 100 times over 18 years is my friend or the person I had met would say something like, oh, okay, you're a financial advisor. Hey, I've got this thing through my employer. It's called like a 401k1 or something maybe. And I've got money that I think that I'm, it's coming out of my paycheck that's going into this. And I've got this from my employer. I'm not sure if my employer's managing or handling this for me, or maybe I'm supposed to pick my investments, or maybe I did pick in my investments. And then they'd say, would you mind taking a look at this thing for me and just tell me if I've got it set up right? And I always answered, of course I will. Just make a copy of your statement and send it to me, and I'd be happy to give you some advice. So I'd get this statement. And to your question about what are mistakes people making, I saw like this, again, like almost 100 times. And I'd see this statement, and it was literally a jumbled mess of just looked like they had vomited their choices back onto the paper, And these were people, I mean, I like to think, I've been fairly successful in my life, and the circle of friends that I have are doing well, and we've all got good jobs and doing great things in our careers, whatever they may be. And so, but I'd look at their 401k and I'm like, oh my God, what a mess.
Yep.
I mean, like, they're college educated, they're doing fine in their lives and their career, but like, they don't have a clue. I'm thinking this, they don't have a clue about, and this is not just one financial advisor's opinion where some other advisor would look at their statement and say that it's fine. I'm saying anybody that understands investing would look at this statement and be like, yeah, this person really just kind of threw darts at a paper.
Exactly.
And so that, because that happened so many times over and over, that really became one of the big ingredients behind starting Blooom. And so I will always remember a late night in January 2013. Kevin and I, my business partner, late at night, emailing each other back and forth after our kids were in bed. It happened all the time, as entrepreneurs do. And he said the fateful quote that is now painted up on the wall of the Blooom office in big letters. He said the following. He said, Chris, Wall Street has made a habit of running in the opposite direction of people with small accounts. Maybe we should build something and run towards them. And I have said that 1,000 times. The hairs on the back of my neck still stand up when I say that, because that to me is the essence of why we started Blooom. And don't get me wrong, we have bunches of clients that have $1 million or more accounts at Blooom, and that's fine, but that's not who we started the company for.
Yeah.
We started it for all these people, like my friends, who were screwing up. And a lot of my friends, a lot of people, a lot of your listeners, a lot of Bloom's clients, they're one of, if not the biggest asset, financial store of wealth is their 401k. My parents, who had nothing,
that's true.
Their biggest account, their biggest source of anything was what they had socked away, even though it wasn't much, inside of each of their 401ks.
But that is going to be huge for most people.
It's going to be massively, not huge, necessarily huge in terms of value, but huge in terms of importance.
Exactly.
Like, that will determine, like it or not, that will determine for tens of millions of people when they can stop working.
Yep.
Literally. And let's maybe not even use the term retirement, because it means so many different things for so many people. But for so many people to be able to be in a position, if you wanted to not have to get up every day and go to a job, you might still continue that job. Like, you're in a career, what you do, me as a financial advisor, like, I can see, both of us probably staying active, and what we may taper it off, but this is what you do and what I do is something we could continue into our 70s easy.
Yes.
And not because we have to, because we
like it. I enjoy it.
Like it. Exactly. Exactly. But there are some people out there that are, let's say, punching the proverbial clock or whatever, or at jobs where they just don't love it. And there's what's the saying? Thank God it's Friday. Oh shit, it's Monday. I mean, if you feel like that about your job, then those are the people that are like, we want to help them find a way to be in a position at some point where they don't have to be at that job. It could be because they've got enough financial independence where they go find something else that they love. I'll tell you another personal story about my mom and my dad. I lost my dad to cancer at age 63. My dad had 0 days of retirement, not
I'm
one.
sorry.
He worked all the way up until chemotherapy basically made it impossible for him to keep working. And a month or two later, he was gone. And, my dad, unfortunately, worked in a job his entire life that he did not love. But he did it because he had me, my brother, my sister. He had a mortgage. He had 2 cars. And he just didn't have a choice. Like, he had to stay in his job because it paid the bills. He just never loved it. Never loved it. My dad always wanted to open up one of those restaurants that only served breakfast and lunch, like something that opens at like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. and closes at like 1:30 or something.
My husband would love that.
Are you serious? Yeah.
He loves breakfast.
So does my dad. My dad was Mr. Breakfast. I mean, like he owned Saturday and Sunday mornings at our house. And my little girls still remember Pappy's pancakes. He always wanted to have one of those restaurants. And it's sad because it's like, now I'm actually in a position financially where I could like give him that money to start something small.
Yeah.
But he could never do that. Quitting his job that was paying a paycheck and he didn't have the capital to start a restaurant. It didn't have the capital to kind of go without a paycheck, for some period of time as you're getting it up and running, but what if my mom and dad would have had something like Blooom 30 or 40 years ago, and it would have maybe by getting a service that actually would have helped them instead of having to wait till they're kids, actually my younger brother's a financial advisor too, but something that they could have been using earlier in their career, when we were all still young kids, a service like Blooom, if you will. And just maybe because Blooom was able to save them some money in fees or help them, have a better allocation than all my friends I was telling you about earlier that were messing their accounts up. What if my dad at 60, because he passed away at 63. What if at age 60, he would have had just enough where he could have opened that little restaurant and had maybe a couple years of doing what he really wanted to be doing before his time was up? I mean, how much is something like that worth? I mean, that your podcast, what you're doing, the advice that you're giving, the company that Blooom is, you and I are impacting people and could potentially be doing that for folks. There are people that if they are listening to what you're helping them with, they're taking the advice that you're giving in your podcast, if they're able to connect with a company like Blooom, I know unequivocally, absolutely for certain, that we are putting people into a position where they will be able to stop working sooner and maybe go fulfill a dream. Maybe it's because it could be opening a restaurant like my dad. Maybe it's just to go volunteer. Maybe I want to go do something that feeds my heart and my soul, not my pocketbook.
Yep.
Well, in order to be able to do that, I need to have enough in my pocketbook to be able to allow me to do that. And so this is what's at stake here. And the thing about it is, Atia, you and I both, we may not be around to see the outcomes of this good advice and good service that we're doing, because it may only show its head again 20 or 30 years down the road or something. But I will go to my grave knowing that Blooom, and I think you should too, is absolutely changing people's lives. And
that's just like giving me chills.
Well, it should, because that's how much I believe in the power of doing good with respect to people's finances. And my God, there's so many people that need this kind of help.
I so agree. First of all, so many things I wanted to say. I'm so sorry about your father passing away.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I'm so sorry that it happened before he was able to see what he actually wanted to do. Mm-hmm. But I completely agree, like 210%, that what I'm doing, this purpose, it's not for a bottom line. Like, for anybody that knows, this is not my job. This is not my side job. This is my passion project that I just want to get information out there. I just want one person at least to hear this and be impacted, and to sign up for the free analysis and to say, oh, I need to change this. And that can blossom into something else. And I just want people to know that it's out there. And like you said, if this was out there 30 years ago, it could have changed so many lives. It could have had a ripple effect back then. So we're starting the ripple effect now, and it's something that can be done. And so, and when you were talking, I jotted down that you said like 99% of us have nobody coming to us to help us with our financial situation. And the 1% that already have financial independence have everybody lined up to work with them. And then when you said that your quote, like everything just comes full circle. And that's exactly the purpose of Live Financially Savvy. I think everybody should be able to do it because it means different things to different people, but everybody should have the option to fix their financial situation.
Yeah. And so that kind of brings it back to what I was talking about earlier. So the most of the people that we're helping today, that you're speaking to, and again, there's some of your listeners are probably incredibly wealthy, and certainly Blooom has clients that are incredibly wealthy, but that's most Americans are not multimillionaires. And so if you think about like providing financial advice and financial help, that is a service business. And before technology, it was hard to scale. And what I mean by that is it was hard to like reach. Like if you're an accountant, okay, and then you got to meet individually with people, let's say. Yep. And I was a financial advisor, a wealth advisor, meeting individually. You and I only have so many hours in the day, okay? Like even if we crammed our schedules and we took appointments like every half hour, we could probably still only do about 20 clients a day, and at some point, by the way, if we were keeping that pace, we would burn out if we were taking that many meetings. My point being is there are millions of people in this country that need this. So this problem can't be solved. Like no army of good, honest, ethical financial advisors could ever reach the 99% of people in this country. Like we just the math doesn't work. And so the only way to address this problem from our perspective of fixing people's accounts, deploying financial advice, is to do it through technology. Because technology actually, whereas I personally could only help 20 clients, and I shouldn't even say, I wouldn't even want to do that many. I'd be like, if I could only help like 5 or 6 a day, that sounds more reasonable to me. Technology can help, Blooom can help thousands in one single day. And it doesn't get tired at the end of the day. I mean, the algorithms perform perfectly for the first client as it does client number 8,000 that day.
Exactly.
And so this problem does need to be addressed with technology. And so then you start to think, well, technology, okay, but financial advice, or, that's really a personal, you need kind of a human, and trust me, I'm a human advisor. I mean, that's how I've been. I'm not trying to poo-poo human advisors at all, but I think there's a lot of the population actually that would say, I don't want to do that awkward meeting at my kitchen table where the financial advisor comes over. I don't want to meet him at Applebee's over dinner for the awkward dinner. It's like most people are like, they'd really rather be doing just about anything. They'd rather go clean out their garage than meet face-to-face with a financial advisor.
Talk about their finances.
Yes, I get that because I struggled for almost 20 years trying to get people to come in and meet with me. I know that people would rather be doing just about anything. I almost wonder if some people would rank dentists above going to their financial advisor. And so that's the great thing about Blooom. Guess what? No awkward meetings.
Yeah.
It takes like 3 or 4 minutes, and you can do it online, sitting in a chair, on your iPad, on your phone, on your computer. And so, maybe somebody that, and I'm not trying to be stereotype or overly generalized, but maybe somebody who's in their 60s does not want to transact their finances totally online. But my guess is a lot of your listeners that maybe are in their upper 20s or 30s or 40s, and maybe even some 50s we're at a point now in our lives. I'm 45, where we're more comfortable doing a lot of these things online than maybe we were even 10 years ago. And so, fortunately, the only way to solve this problem, to reach enough people, is through technology, while at the same time, fortunately, more people than ever before are not just willing to, they'd actually prefer to do online or on their phones. So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Like, I honestly thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I can't wait to get all the information out there so that people can start taking their free analysis and figuring out their next steps, because I think I'm going to do it and like post my results in the show notes so that people
You should. Actually, no, actually,
that's a good idea.
I've got a great idea for you. You know what you can do too? Because we see a lot of people sharing this. When you get in, and you're going through the process, and right after it's analyzed your 401k. So this is probably about 2 to 3 minutes in. You're going to see a screen of your before flower, like what it looks like now, and your after flower, what it could look like.
Screenshot
that. Yeah, exactly. And the one thing I want to mention, because I think a lot of people hear free, because all we've said is free analysis, and a lot of people like Blooom. Blooom is not a .org. Blooom is a company that is trying to make money eventually over time. And so, like, where's the money come in? Like, where's the catch? I want to be totally transparent about this. So the free analysis we've been talking about is totally free. It takes about 3 minutes, like we've talked about. After you've been shown like how much we could save you in fees and what your account allocation should look like, then and only then are you given a choice, and it is your choice, whether or not to sign up to have Blooom do it for you. Meaning Blooom will go in and manage the account, make the changes, keep it adjusted when market conditions get crazy, or as you get older, we will make adjustments to your account for you. The fee that Blooom charges for that is $10 per month, period. End of story. It is pay as you go. Usually we should find a way to make sure in your show notes that we get all of your listeners a free month. Okay. So you can actually try it free for a month. And I mean, if you didn't think it was worth it or whatever, you could cancel, and you've literally paid nothing. And you've had your 401k fixed, just temporarily at least, but at least it's been reallocated. Yep. But it's pay as you go. There are no other fees that Blooom charges for that account. If you have a lot of our clients have multiple 401ks, like you talked about. You said you've got your current 401k and you've got an old 401k. Secondary accounts, if you wanted to sign up your secondary account, it's $7.50 on top of that. So your two accounts would run you $17.50 per month. But if you've got just one account you're signing up, it is $10 per month. I used to joke that we charge the same as Netflix. Now, actually, I can say we charge less.
Their prices are increasing.
Yes, I think I pay 11. So, I mean, think how many people today are gladly forking over $10 or $11 a month for Netflix, when I can argue, and you know this too, how much more important something like this is for 401k than Netflix. I get it. I'm a Netflix client too, and there's my shows that I love watching, but I think in the back of my mind, I know that taking care of my retirement is probably more important than that.
Exactly.
So $10 a month. Sign up. It is pay as you go. If at any point you don't feel like you're getting value from Blooom in one way, shape, or form, it is super easy to cancel. There's no back end gotcha fees. And the other thing I wanted to say too, because a lot of what Blooom is doing, like I said earlier, is providing access. And so once you're a Blooom client, once you have signed up with us, you not only get your 401k managed by Blooom for you, but you then have access to financial advisors at Blooom that you can ask any money-related question in the world. So once you're a client, if you're wondering like, hey, I've still got student loan debt, I've got this 401k at my employer, should I be doing the 401k? If so, how much should I contribute? I've got questions about term life insurance. I've got questions. I heard an advertisement for Quicken Mortgage or Rocket Mortgage, and I've got a mortgage. I'm wondering if now's a good time to refinance. Those are questions that our clients ask our advisors all of the time, and there is no additional fee for that. That is included in a $10 per month membership fee, if you will. It's all done. We don't come out, like I said, no awkward meetings at Applebee's or their local restaurant. We don't sit down with you and do these complicated, exhaustive financial plans. But anytime you have money-related questions, feel free to log in and just message the advisor. And if it's during work hours, we get right back to you. If it's after work hours, then we get back to you the next morning. And we help people all the time with wide-ranging money-related questions, and we don't charge for it as part of that $10 fee.
That is awesome. So that is definitely going to be in the show notes, and so I am so excited to share that. And so I just wanted to end really quickly asking, what does Live Financially Savvy mean to you? I mean, I could probably guess what it is, but I want you to say it in your words.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to go back and just call upon what we talked about earlier. I think living financially savvy is you don't have to be financially independent to live financially savvy. You just have to be working towards it. I think you have to feel like this is a priority. I want money not to be so stressful to me. I want to be in a position at some point in my life where I'm not having to worry about it as much as maybe I'm worrying about it today. And that is things, like taking care of your 401k, like having access to a financial advisor that will answer your questions and will give you some guidance, is having to plan to get out of debt. All those things wrapped together. Again, living financially savvy does not mean that you need to be already arrived. It just means that you have made some kind of a plan, a commitment, an intent, if you will, to work towards that. A lot of that, for a lot of people, myself included, is delaying gratification and putting, some of those maybe materialistic purchases off until later down the road. I love how Dave Ramsey says, live like no one else today so you can live like no one else down the road. And I may have gotten that a little bit wrong, but what he means by that is, very few people are willing to really genuinely live like nobody else today, which means, drive a crappy car and be very frugal about where you're spending money, because you've got this plan. You're trying to work towards this point in your life where you can live like no one else. And then what that means is then, being in a position at some point to be financially independent where you can start to enjoy the fruits of all those years where you were more disciplined than average Americans. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And once again, thank you so much for all this information. I look forward to connecting with Blooom and connecting my audience with Blooom. And so I will share all the information in the show notes. So be sure to check those out after you guys listen to the episode. So thank you so much, Chris, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I really had a good time this morning with you.
Thank you. And so if you guys listened to the entire episode, tell me what you think. I want you guys to definitely send me a comment. I want you guys to email me or direct message me. I really want to hear you guys' thoughts. And as promised, the code for the free month of Blooom services for free is TSA 2018. So TSA are capital and then 2018. So you'll find this information in the show notes as well. But I'm excited that I'm able to offer this to you guys because I definitely think that people need to be aware of what is happening in their retirement accounts. This is the money you guys are relying on for when you finally leave work. And so I think you need to be aware of the rates, you need to be aware of your portfolio mix and how it can be helpful. So you sign up for Blooom, do their analysis, and you guys have 1 month free where you can use their services. So please rate, like, and subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Google Play. I'm on Spotify, iHeartRadio. Just please listen, rate, subscribe, review. Let me know what you're thinking. I want you guys to be honest so that I'm able to help you guys. So this has been a great episode of the Live Financially Savvy podcast, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you.
So I want to thank you for listening to the Live Financially Savvy podcast. You can hear the episode at livefinanciallysavvy.com, and you can get all the show notes at livefinanciallysavvy.com. You can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook at Live Financially Savvy. Let us know what you think. Please like, comment, and share, and rate and download wherever you listen to your podcast. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.